and welcome to Let's Talk with NP Student. I am your host, Dr. Patrice Little, and today we are delving into two aspects of the nurse practitioner journey. We're going to talk about pain management, and then later on, in the second part of our show, we'll talk about how to manage stress while you're in NP school. So, joining us for the first part of our show is Dr. Patrice Kiesling. She is a leading expert in pain management as a nurse practitioner. Welcome, Dr. Kiesling. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Dr. Little.
So let's get started with the show. The first thing, of course, like I always ask most of our nurse practitioner experts, is how did you get started from going from a registered nurse with an orthopedic and neurology background to a pain management nurse practitioner?
Well, originally, when I was in NP school, I wanted to become a hospitalist. And as you know, when you first graduate from school, you want to get the first available job. And for me, it was internal medicine. And I did rounds at long-term care facilities and things like that. However, there was also a lot of pain management. Eventually, over time, I started doing more and more pain management. And in an effort to provide better care, I learned how to do procedures, trigger point injections, joint injections, uh, nerve blocks, non-spinal nerve blocks. And ever since then, I've been in pain management.
Okay, so this is the part that I am asking on behalf of students, because when you think about it, when you think of pain management, you think of the Wong Baker scale that you'll use in a pediatric setting, or asking them on a scale of 0 to 10. And there, of course, there's more to that. Can you tell us a little bit about how you go about the best way to assess the pain, and then some pharmacological and non-pharmacological treatments?
Okay, so when I first meet a patient, yes, of course, we have to ask, 0 being no pain, 5 is moderate, 10 is the worst pain ever. What is your pain level today? What has been your average pain level over the past week? Um, if you're currently taking medication, when you take the medication, how does it bring your pain down? But identifying a pain generator is most important. So when someone comes in with pain, yes, we understand pain is subjective, and whether they give you a 3, a 5, a 8, a 12, right? I try to ascertain the pain generator. Is the pain in your back? Okay. If it's in your back, when does it hurt more? Going upstairs, coming downstairs? Do you have any radicular symptoms? Trying to identify where the pain is, what's causing the pain, so that we can ascertain the best treatment plan. Now, so sometimes we do have to get radiology. It's more than just a physical assessment. We will, if needed, we will get radiology. But some pharmacological treatments, of course, include NSAIDs, muscle relaxers, gabapentinoids. Here in Colorado, some people have used medical marijuana. However, depending on your job, that is not possible for you. Non-pharmacological treatments include, of course, physical therapy, acupuncture, Tai Chi. There are different things that you can do to help decrease your pain overall, but we do push movement regardless. Because I was doing so much medication management, particularly with opioids, one of the things that I decided to do was add injections into my daily practice. Now, we have patients that come in once a week at the beginning, once every other week, over week 3 to 6, and then they'll come once a month or once every few months for injections, whether it's trigger point injections to help with muscle spasms, joint injections to help with joint pain, your shoulders, elbows, knees, whatever it is, and things like that. And whatever it takes to really get the patient moving is what I concern myself with.
I like what you mentioned about the various methods, and I wanted to highlight what you mentioned about the trigger point injection, because that's what you incorporate in your practice. How
Yes.
can students prepare themselves for that? So think about, like, most of the people who are tuning in are those who are newly accepted NP students and some of those who are getting ready to go into their preceptorship? How can they prepare for that? Because they can't do the trigger point injections while in school.
Yes, that is correct. Some schools have tried at least to teach trigger point injections and joint injections. However, until you actually graduate, if somebody follows me as if I'm your preceptor, I will allow you to do trigger point
Mhm.
injections.
And with that, they have to have a good understanding of the anatomy and the physiology of the body to do that.
Yes, anatomy is key. And it as my what I do with my students is I allow them to watch me. They hear the questions I'm asking. They understand the rationale why we're doing it. I let them use me for palpation so they can feel the way the musculature goes. It's one thing in passing anatomy. It's another thing of understanding the anatomy, understanding what's actually there and what mistakes you can make if you go in too deep, how you can be ineffective if you're not deep enough, making sure you do a trigger point injections versus a joint injection, understanding all that. So I let the student practice on me first. And if you're good enough, I'll let you practice on a patient. But after after you graduate, there are several courses you can take. I've taken multiple courses. Some you achieve certification with, but most of them is just basically knowledge. There are no actual, well, they're working on current certifications for that. But there are some certifications, they don't add extra letters to the back of your name, but the knowledge that you gain is immense. It's amazing. And your patients will understand that you know what you're talking about. And when you provide them with the treatment, they feel better. So find a preceptor who works in pain management, who is well versed in pain management, or some internists actually are very good with that, and they will gladly teach you how to do all types of injections. Yes,
Understood. So by training, you are a family nurse practitioner, but you move on by into your role by getting many certifications to make you well
yes,
equipped. And then over the years, you became an expert.
yes,
Okay.
exactly.
And I say that that
Thank you.
way for our viewers, for them to understand that it's not just you graduate and then, oh, you want to go into trigger point injection. There is an actual process. But because I wanted to really focus on assessment, I have a few more questions about that before we segue into closing up your section. So around this time of year, students go back and they take their advanced health assessment as part of one of the core classes, but one of the first classes in their program. What are some lessons that you've learned over the years as far as in practice that you could share with students when they as they approach learning?
I think as a student, when it came to physical assessment, my first few years as a nurse practitioner, the assessment was I did all the assessments. I assessed everything. You couldn't tell me otherwise, right? This is the only way to do it. This is the only way I'll find everything. I'm going to find that zebra. And, I'm going to find that thing that's abnormal that nobody else has ever found. Over time, I've realized I had to specialize my assessment based on the patient complaints, because realistically, as a nurse practitioner, you have 15 minutes average per patient appointment, and you have to address those issues. And hopefully, you are correct on your first assessment, or at least you can ascertain enough information so that you can send them to the correct place, whether that's physical therapy, radiology, or do an injection right there on the spot. So, being able to hone in on your skills while you're in physical assessments, the health assessment course, I recommend you learn every assessment as well as you can. And over time, you will get better at it. Don't stress yourself out too much. You'll learn as you go. That's, that's how I live my life.
And that's exactly how I approach practice as well. I serve as adjunct for a local university in Atlanta. And I always tell students, I said, this is where you make the mistakes in your learning practice. You have fun. You practice when you go home, practice on your nephew because your nephew is a child, if your nephew's a child
Yes.
school age. and then practice on your grandmother, because that will be a consider more a geriatric population. So I agree. This is the time where they do as much practicing and get familiar with the body, because you highlighted something that was very, I want to repeat it, but I can't remember it. You mentioned about with practice, where with the anatomy, it's one thing to know it, but it's another thing to understand it.
Understand it. Yes. Yes.
So it's the same thing with this with assessment. Okay, so this has just been, I found it valuable, and I hope for those who are tuning in to the live interview to put a yes in the chat if you found it valuable. Is there anything else that you would like to add as far as with NP students? Because usually I ask my guess, if you only knew then what you know now, what would you have done differently? You can start there, or you could just share some inspiration with the upcoming nurse practitioner students.
Better others in it and where I did not want to be for after I became a nurse practitioner. I found an internal medicine physician that did a lot of trigger point injection, joint injections. His assessments. He was an expert diagnostician, if you could say that, and I think that was very helpful. I know as an NP student, the most difficult thing is finding preceptors. You're so stressed out about finding preceptors. Do you even care about what they're teaching in class, right? And I think find someone that you want to follow. And I want to say, just make sure you bring them a basket. Say, hey, I really want to follow you. Make sure you leave a little note every once in a while. You know, you don't want to be a stalker, but find the people. If you know exactly where you want to go, find the preceptors that will help you get to where you want to go, and you can successfully complete NP school. However, that being said, you want to be well-rounded at the end of NP school in case what you thought you wanted is not what you really end up doing. So just be well-rounded. Hopefully you enjoy NP school, because it will be stressful, and the rest of your life will be stressful as a nurse practitioner also. So enjoy every moment that you can. Find colleagues that you love, and align yourself with other people that make you feel as if you belong, because imposter syndrome will creep up on you.
Well said. And that really prepares us for our segue to the next segment, where we'll talk about how to manage stress while in NP school. Dr. Kiesling, I thank you for taking the time out your productive schedule to share insights on how to go about assessing as well as treating pain management for nurse practitioner students. We would love to have you for another segment in the future, and we will see you next time.
Thank you, Dr. Little. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise. So now we're going to shift our focus into how to manage stress while you are in NP school. We have an actual health coach that's joining us. His name is Tochukwu Operacha, and we can also call him T. But I'm so excited to have him join us, because I've been following him for quite some time on Instagram, and he has been helpful to me. So this is a great time for us to showcase him as you get ready to go into NP school.
Sure.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I've been watching your content. I took a look at your page. I'm like, wait a second, wait a second. There's an opportunity here. We can really make some magic here. I know your audience is really looking towards that transition from where they are now to where they'd like to be. I know there's going to be a lot of stress in that in between. So we got to figure out how to minimize that stress and bring it to where they want to get to. So I appreciate you having me here.
Well, it's a pleasure. So let's get right on to what many students want to know. They want to know a little bit about your background as a health coach, and how you got about helping nurses care for themselves while they care for others.
Mm-hmm. I'd be glad to share it. It's a funny story because back when I was in undergrad, My main focus was to become a neurosurgeon I was basically doing certain med school classes or pre-med classes on top of an engineering course load. And so I'm going through school, I'm enjoying myself. And it all started with the time where I was doing homecoming. And during homecoming, we had an event where I was on stage and I was doing a quote unquote workout routine to the song Kanye's workout plan. And as time went on, I was always an athlete. And so they said, hey, why don't you go ahead and just do it for good? And I said, let me give it a shot. I'll take a stab at it. And so lo and behold, some time goes by. I'm helping some of my classmates and my classmates and people I'm going to school with get healthy because they're stressed out. They're nursing students, they're engineering students. And after some time, I'm like, hey, let me go ahead and let's see what it really does here. Let's see if I can really take this thing and make it help. Because some people, they were doing good in school, but they weren't doing good with their health and vice versa as well. So let's put it all together. I finished school in 2019. I'm thinking, wait a second, these people, they're getting great results. They feel a lot healthier, but the minute life changes, or the minute that they get a new shift change, or the minute that something happens with their family, everything kind of hits the fan. And we didn't want that. So what we did was we took a lot of time to figure out what can we do to make sure that it's impossible to mess up, it's impossible to fail, it's impossible to fall off the wagon. And so we took a holistic approach to it, the mind, the body, soul, put it all together. And then we had our first true test when the pandemic hit, and we actually had everything ready to go. And it was really it was a roaring success. Everyone who came in, about 90% of people came in, they learned how to take care of their mind, their stress, the anxiety that comes with it, the way their body feels the pain after the lack of sleep. So at the end of the day, what you saw for yourself when you joined the career, when you got into this career field, is what's actually happening and not just what you daydream about. It's really who you choose to be rather than what you have to because of the way that the career or the people around you kind of made you to be, quote unquote. And so here we are in 2023, still popping, still making it happen, and just making magic happen day in and day out. One more time. I think the audio is a little.
Thank you.
Okay.
I
Okay.
love how you share this story. I'm familiar with your story, of course. And it's amazing how you were led into it and how much impact that you've had. Like when I see the different befores and after on your pages on your website, I'm like, that is it's amazing because we all know that the weight gain and some of the sicknesses that we have is connected to the to stress. And so with that being said, I wanted to ask you the next one as far as the sources of stress. What are some, as far as that has been shared with you, the
Mhm.
causes of stress that most nurses have shared with you?
Okay. Well, put it this way. A lot of time when I talk to a lot of the people who come work with me, a lot of the times when they jump into this new career setting, they're not really sure how to deal with stress because a lot of their life has just been I go to school, I take care of clinicals, I take care of my coursework, and maybe some work on the side, and then I go straight into my career. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just when it comes to the point of, when things change on a frequent basis, that's is so common in the industry, how do you deal with that? You're not used to that. So one is just being overwhelmed by everything because you have all these. You once had X amount of impacts, X amount of inputs, and now it's Y amount, and you're not prepared for that. So you need to be prepared for that. Number two, I would say is really just learning how to actually deal with stress. A lot of times, going to sleep properly, having a proper sleep routine, learning how to deal with stress from the day before, not letting it carry on. So the next day, as much as we would like to say that we can leave it at work. More times than not, when I talk to people, it's still they still put that resentment inside. You go to sleep and you feel heavy, and you wake up it's like, oh, what the hell? And really, imposter syndrome. That's really the biggest thing I've seen, imposter syndrome, because you're going from two different places of life. You're going from a place of life where you have to focus on one thing, and here you are in a different thing, and this has been your dream for so long. And so when you don't deal with that, it's like you're there, but you're not there. Like a piece of you, physically you're there, but mentally, spiritually, you're not all the way there. And so that's going to be one of the major impacts when it comes down to being able to be who you want to be and be able to perform productively in whatever setting that you're in the hospital.
Understood. And you've mentioned quite a bit of things, and I just want to break some things down just for clarification. You mentioned about managing of the stress in the hospital, and one thing we know that they segue, as you mentioned, with the imposter syndrome from registered nurses in the hospital where they're taking orders to giving orders, which is a total different responsibility because you have more accountability, or more as far as if you're prescribing or recommending the correct treatment plan. What are some ways they could, you mentioned a few, but what are some ways they could manage their stress during their preceptorships? This is the clinical training where they're still working at the hospital, they're going to school full time, but
Yeah,
they're also learning how to work as a provider.
that's a great question. That's a great question. And I have a unique way that I look at life. I look at it from the standpoint of everything's a chessboard battleground, meaning if it feels kind of crazy now, it's probably an opportunity to kind of get ready for that next phase. So what does
Hmm.
that mean here? It just means that when you are in preceptorship right now, it's like, okay, well, I know that right now, this is probably what I've never been through before. I have not experienced it before. I know that's probably going to be a little bit tougher. So it's not that it's too hard because it's right now. It's one side it's just new, it's just unfamiliar to you. So if you look at it from the standpoint, this is not hard. I've gotten through nursing school or undergrad. I initially came in thinking it was hard. I finished it. It was still hard, but not really that I couldn't do it. So if you take that same mindset into preceptorship, it's like, okay, well, wait a second. I've been here before. It might not be the exact same content, but the frame around it has been pretty much similar. So I can do this for sure. Um, Two, I would start with a lot of people, they stress themselves out because they try to climb the mountain in one day, right? Like you enter the preceptorship knowing what's on the other side. You try to go from here you are point A to point Z in one day. I mean, you could try, but more likely than not, I've seen it myself. I'm not even in the field. It's probably not going to work out. So what you want to do is just look at 0 to 1, like looking at the entire chess. We're looking at everything got going on, the whole war zone. What is actually going on? What do I have zero control over? Let's push that over there. What can I do right now? Let's pick one that takes the least effort but gives me the most impact. Let's do that right now. So now we know that one, we're getting the job done. We're actually making progress until you feel good about yourself. Because a lot of times it's less about what's going on there. You can get the job done. It's proven over the last 20, 30 years of your life. But you actually believe you can get the job done. And so when you kind of look at it from this point of view, it kind of knocks out the imposter syndrome. It knocks out the stress. It's almost like an all-in-one because now you're looking at it from the root of things. It's not that you don't know how to do it. It's more so let's start with where you are right now. Look at what you can do right here in this moment, rather than from now up until 10 years down the line. We're looking at what we can do right now. Another point I want to bring up here is really just learning how to, again, acknowledge the stress itself. Just looking at it like, okay, I'm stressed out. That's one thing. Just acknowledge it. If you're stressed and you're in the moment, just let yourself know, hey, I'm feeling stressed out. And that one little sentence right there is going to help a lot. And I talk about it more in my I have a 10-step checklist that kind of breaks this down and gives into more detail. But I'll give you this. I'll give you this. If you can just look at it and say whatever you're feeling right now, if you feel happy, acknowledge it. I feel happy. You feel sad, acknowledge you feel sad. Just acknowledging it in that little piece right there. It's going to make it so much easier for you to actually make changes and make differences right now in the moment because now you're in a place where it's not good or bad. You're just acknowledging it. So now once you acknowledge it, you feel a lot better because it's not hidden. It's not abstract. There's clarity as to what's actually going on. And if I could give one more, I want to overwhelm you guys. I would really just say being able to just get moving. Like even if it's small, even if it's just going for a little walk, doing a mini stretch here and there, just getting the blood moving, getting the lymphatic system moving, so that your body is aware that hey, we're cool. We're in a place where it's not fight or fight, it's not stress. We can just get your body, get the fluids moving, get everything moving. I think I could have. Can I have one more? I'll let you guys get the but then link somewhere on the screen. Yes, can get it there. There's more there, but I don't want to overstep the time.
That was perfect. Please finish your thought because this is good.
Well, I'll go. I'll go for it. Then I'll go for it. Again, at the end of the day, if you just focus on what it means to be a human for yourself, rather than trying to fit yourself into the mold of what you believe a nurse or nurse position should be, you're a lot better off, just physically, mentally, mostly spiritually. Because it's not about. It's not. Here's the thing. It's not about you becoming that role. It's more so that that role is a part of your life. Figuring out how is that role best served in your life for you to be more who you are. Like you are not a nurse practitioner, you play that role in your life right now. And so that doesn't absolve you of every other role, be it you're a mom or you're a father or you're a son or you're a daughter or whatever. You have all these different roles here. You can't absolve those because you're this. No, 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 no. You can't do that. You got to make sure, okay, this is a new role for me. How do we kind of bring it on into the lifestyle? Make sure this is all of who we are. We're playing this, and this, not just this, and everything else kind of goes away. Does that make sense?
That makes 100% sense, a lot of sense, because that's what our platform is about. Many times people ask me, they're like, "Hey, Dr. Little, what are the different types of services that you provide?" And I say, "Okay, yes, we talk about things that they were experiencing in academia, but we mainly focus on the holistic student, the student as a whole. We
Right.
focus on the seven aspects of life, which has to is really social, health and wellness, love, spirituality. An NP student is really being an NP student, which we consider the personal development spoke in the will of life, is like 1/7 of of that whole will.
Right.
And everything else is a reflection of who they are inside.
That's the
So
part.
when you say that, the
Right.
with the whole mindset, it makes a lot of sense. And I'm like, of course, I was so excited once we had that our first conversation and you told me what your platform was about. And I just want to make sure that people are able to sign up for the newsletter because you always give some great some tips as well for individuals to go ahead and download the 10-step checklist, because I'm telling you, this right here, it's not about just NP school. NP school, you'll be in for maybe 1 to 3 years, depending on your program, and 1 to 4 years, depending on if you plan on getting a DMP. This is about placing daily disciplines in your life that you will use for the rest of your life.
Right.
And
Right.
it starts here. This is a good place to regroup. I wanted to, because we have the few more minutes, I really want to go to something that's important because many nurses have been, especially those who are women, have been impacted by this, and that's weight gain, because the weight gain is connected to the stress, and the stress is connected to them trying to meet the expectation. Can you just talk a little bit on along the lines of just weight gain, whatever you feel that is appropriate at this time?
Okay, so weight gain. Weight gain is a funny topic because when people look at weight gain for, damn, I was this and now 3 months later I'm that. I didn't want that to happen. And so you have to look at a lot of different things. For sure, we mentioned stress already, and that's probably going to be one of the bigger ones. Like when people come to me, they're like, "Hey, I don't know what's going on. I've been working out. I've been eating properly. I've eaten the chicken and rice, and I hate it, but I eat it anyway, and I'm still not losing weight." Well, let's be real. If you don't like it, you're not going to do it. If it doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't fit with who you are, you're not going to do it. So the number one thing I could say is that you need to figure out what is going to work. Know who you are first and foremost. Know who you are. Know what works for you. There's no makes no point to do something that doesn't work for you and try to force it there. Because what happens is you're going to get the results, great, but then you lose the results when anything hits the fan. Not great. The first thing is being aware of exactly who you are. That's what I honestly attribute all of my success, my client success to. Is not here, take this meal plan, here, take this workout plan, figure it out. I don't want to talk to you. No, it's not that. It's more so let's talk about it. Let's have our blueprint call. Let's break it down, look at everything you've got going on right now. And figure out, okay, well, where are the gaps here? Like, is your sleep good? Yeah, my sleep's good. Well, you're getting 4 hours of sleep at night and you're scrolling through your phone. Well, let's work on that first. How's your eating? It's good. I eat here and there. What does that mean? Well, I eat 1 meal a day. Well, I mean, not that it's bad or good, but if it's not getting the results you want, you gotta make a change somewhere, right? So it's really just looking at all the gaps within your life, all the things that you think you might be doing good, things that might be getting you results, but they're not actually getting you results, and take it from there. Look at what's the smallest thing you can do right now to get you the most results. And then from there, I want you start to believe that, hey, I can get the job. I want you start to believe that, hey, I can actually do things that make me better outside of my career and outside of the validation of people around me, for me only. Then you start to say, wait a second, let's see what else I can do. Let's see how far I can take it. And now you start to take care of, your eating and working out more consistently, and setting up boundaries for yourself, being able to kind of look at life like, hey, I can do whatever I want. It doesn't matter what I'm told I can do. I choose what I can do. And now you get to a place where, as you're entering NP school, you become an NP. Now you're more of a leader because you can't lead others if you can't lead yourself. Does that make sense? I'm talking to the broad audience here, but if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead others. It's just impossible because they're gonna look at you like, hey, what do? You don't even trust yourself. Like, I don't know. You guys figure it out. I don't know what's going on. So you gotta trust yourself first before you can before you can deal with other people's trust in you.
Absolutely. You have to be first honest with yourself, keep the word for
Yeah,
yourself
yeah, right,
before you can actually keep word for others.
right.
It just is what it is, and that's why we have you here. It's about really how do you care for yourself while you care for others, and that's really making sure you put yourself first,
Yeah,
being true to your word, and like you mentioned, starting with the mindset. You've dropped so many nuggets, and for those who are tuning in, definitely put a yes in the chat if you found this information valuable. And then also there is another link I wasn't able to prepare, but T, can you tell us where viewers could visit you to learn more information? I understand you have a calendar where they can actually schedule a one-to-one.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. So we have a few things here that you can. I'm putting up here, especially just for this, because I know it's our first time, and I really do respect Dr. Patrice. What we have here is our 10-step sustainable health checklist. This is built with you in mind. It's really built to kind of show you what you can do right now, moment by moment. You just pick two. It's like a list of 10. I don't want you to get overwhelmed. Just pick one or two. Just do them for a week and let me know how they go. From my experience, for my clients and myself and people, even myself, when I cannot get in a rut, I just go back to this list right here, and it just gets me right back there, like in a second, a split second. So what you want to do is you want to download that. Links right there. You want to just pick one or two of the habits there and just try them. Maybe it's like drinking water, maybe just getting moving, whatever it is. Just pick the two that are easiest to you. Remember, start from 0 to 1, not 0 to 100, and take those for like the entire week and see what happens. A lot of times what happens is like, oh shoot, it's really not that hard. I had to break that belief for myself. I'm sure you guys can do it as well. And so if that's good for you, maybe you know, hey, I want help now. I'm trying to get the job done now. Hey, let me not stop you. There's a link there. It's a calendar link. And that's where we have our struggle to stress free movement, where you and I will talk for 15 minutes. Take a look into your life. We're talking here about getting real with yourself. Well, this is what that's for. We're going to get real with your situation, see what's actually going on, see why it's happening, see where it's coming from, get to the root of it. So now we know, if we know the root, we know where it's coming from, we know where you've been, we can also figure out where you want to go and connect the dots, because a lot of times it's all mental thing. So when you get the mental and the physical and everything on point, now it's really, really simple because you have clarity now. You see the whole chessboard, you see the whole war front. Now you can attack with strategy. You know how to get to where you got to get to and keep it there.
Wow, this you've helped me. So I'm pretty confident others will help, and we have to have you back
Almost
to
there.
share. I mean, there's several topics that we could talk about when it comes to the whole lifestyle component of NP students. I thank you, T, for joining us. I thank you, viewers, for tuning in here at NP Students, where we're keeping you updated with every aspect of your life in and out of school. I am Dr. Patrice Little, and we will see you next time.